Hey everybody, it's Lacey. Welcome to Paws and Paper. So I am here with my washed and worn journal, this one that we're working on, and I have finally finished doing the preliminary decorating, collaging and stuff on all signatures. I've done some sewing. So today I am finally ready to show you how I put together my hidden spine. And I do this on a lot of my journals. So this is the process that I do. When I made the book cover, I cut 2 of the same width of spines. And this one here happens to be a 2-inch spine. And so I just cut 2 of them because when I'm constructing the first book, I know I'm going to leave a gap with some tape so that I even cut the same exact size. I know it'll fit right in there and the book will still close. So I usually always cut 2 of the same exact size spines. And I've already gone ahead and I've done the boring part. I drew out my lines and I've poked the holes here for my signatures. Now what I do is I cover this in fabric. So here I just have like a pretty neutral linen fabric. And I have my Fabrifix glue. And I am just going to glue it on, it doesn't matter which side, because I've already poked the holes. I'll just use those as my, my guide. My fabric, I cut about, I'd probably say I have an inch, probably a good inch, yeah. I have a good inch on either side, and I think I've left myself about, I probably left myself an inch all the way around. That's probably a good thing. My sides, I leave a little bit wider because when I glue it in, I want it to cover whatever tape or binding I've used. So I want it to cover that, and then I'll probably go ahead and I think I want to put some end papers in here. As much as I love this aged look, I've been playing around with different papers in there, and I think I kind of want to put a decoration of some sort in there, so we'll see. Okay, so I put my fabric on, and the top part I'll just glue down. And you could let this hang out, but I'm going to wrap it so that none of my chipboard is showing. So I'll wrap the top and bottom, and then you won't see the sides because we'll glue the sides into the book. And I'm just going to do a 3-hole pamphlet stitch on this one. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back in the holes that I've already pre-punched, and I'm just going to punch them back through so that I can see them on the opposite side now of my fabric. And this is such thin fabric, it doesn't take much. It's going to go through pretty easily. So let me just do that. And I have 6 signatures in this one. So this is a fairly large book. Signatures don't have many pages in them, but I think it's going to end up being a pretty chunky book. Okay, so now I can see all of my holes pretty well. Enough to bind in my signatures. Okay, so I'm just going to start with the back one. And I haven't pre-punched my holes in my signatures. I kind of just do this method. I line up my spine with my signatures, and I just kind of know my top and my bottom, and I just kind of eyeball it through here. There's one, middle, and the top. And I'm going to use some pink thread here today, my embroidery floss. I thought it would go well with that, the cover. So we're going to go with pink. And this is how I do my 3-hole. Now I can completely hide the thread, or we could tie it off in the middle. I think I'm going to completely hide it. So that means I'm going to start on the back side. So I'm going to start in the middle, and I'm going to start through the back. And you can always, you know, sometimes it's a heck of a lot easier just to clip these together with a paper clip before you get started. That way it keeps them all in line. We're going to see if we can't. Once you get one started, it's pretty easy to keep going. Okay, so get it started. Don't go all the way through. And we're going to do our 3-hole stitch. So I'm going to go down to the bottom. Try to line up my papers here through the bottom. It's always, I think it's the hardest part, getting the first signature started. After that, it gives it a little bit of structure, and then I think it makes it a lot easier to continue. Okay, find my middle again. And I'm only going to show you probably like one of these, because then I'm just going to repeat the process like 6 times. So through my top hole. Okay. And make sure I still got my tail in the back. And then we'll finish through the middle. Back through the middle on the other side. Okay. And then make sure I'm pulling fairly tight. I tug on it pretty good to make sure everything is tight in there. And then go ahead and I knot it 1 way, 2 ways, the backwards way, and the backwards way. Probably more knots than you need, but we're making darn sure it's not going anywhere. Now, once all these are sewn in, I will glue them all the threads down. So there we go. And there's our first signature. So then I just go ahead and I do the same thing. I'll show you this one. And then we'll speed through this process. So, and you can pre-punch all these if you want to measure and things like that. I just go ahead and I'm just lining up my signatures top to bottom. And then I'm just looking where my hole is, making sure my signatures are in line. And I am just eyeballing where I know, I think my head is in the way now, where I know my holes are punched on my spine. I always have way too much thread. I don't think you need, everybody does like 2 or actually they do like 3.5 runs. I don't know. I don't think you need that much thread to sew them in. It always ends up being way too much for me, but I guess it's better to have more than not enough. Okay. So now, again, starting in the back, in the center, and making sure my signatures are aligned. I gotta find my hole. It's kind of hard to see the holes in these because of the type of paper we used. It's right here. Where are you? the notebook paper is already kind of perforated, so it's very difficult to see where my hole was. You were right here, weren't you? Yes. Okay. Now I'm upside down. All right, let's try again. Middle. Middle. There we go. All right. And now that I've got my back signature on there, got a little bit more stability to hold everything in place. I think it just keeps getting easier as you keep adding the signatures, like I said. Okay, all the way to the top now. And find my middle. I'll tell you, I don't think I've ever spent so much time on one journal so far just decorating the background, because everything I've done so far was just the prep for the background pages. I honestly don't think I've ever spent that long on preparing pages before, like ever. It was a lot of fussy stuff, you know, like collaging. I think collaging takes a long time. And then all the little faux stitching stuff. Faux stitching, I'm sorry, takes way longer than real stitching. If you want my opinion. Or just taking it to the sewing machine is a heck of a lot easier. Okay, let's see what kind of mess we've got going on here. Tight. Everything is in line. Okay, looks good. Everything's tight in here. Looks good. Okay, tie it off. And I will continue to sew in the remaining 4 signatures, just like this one. And then I will come back and I'll show you how I put it into our book, and we'll get some end pages on our book. Be right back. Okay, so I have everything now sewn in here. All of our signatures are nice and sewn in. Looks good. So now I'm going to take my whole spine here with all my signatures, and I am going to glue down everything on the back side here. So I'm using my Fabrifix, and I am going to just make sure all my threads are really well covered in glue to keep those down. And lots of glue all over the spine. And then we'll worry about the edges here in a second. So I am just going to line it up. I know it fits top to bottom in my book, which it does. Okay, so I'm just going to squish it down in there. And then I'm going to open my book up here to in between the signatures and just really make sure that's, sorry for shaking the camera there, make sure that's really just glued down. Really well in there. And then I'm just going to peel my fabric back, and I'm going to put, now this is the part where you can either put like an end page over the fabric or under it, you know, whichever look you're going for. I'm trying to think, what do I want to do? I had brought my Edith Holden book along here because I really thought the colors of these pages really matched the colors of this book. So maybe I want to, if I do this like as an end page, maybe I want the fabric to go over top of it. Okay, so let's let the fabric out for now and just really try to squish our spine down. Now I would probably let it sit like this overnight and probably clamp it with something to make sure that, you know, it doesn't bow and that it's all stuck down good. Fabrifix grabs pretty quick, but yeah, we just want to make sure that that's really well glued in there. Okay, let's see if I can kind of prop this up at the same time, try to measure. So yeah, I think I want to use this as an end page. Let's just go for the torn, and I know I'm gonna have to take some off. So let's just get as close as we can to the picture here. And this is nice thick paper too, so I think it'll go well as an end paper in here. And we're gonna need to take a little bit off the bottom and roughly, just gonna kind of bend it where I need to tear it. I'll get my, okay. So let's tear it down here, if I can keep it straight. My tear was roughly here, and it's gonna go under the fabric, so if I'm a little short, the fabric will cover it. Main thing is I'm keeping all my picture in there, and I want just the tiniest bit from the top. And let's see what we got here. I need just a tiny bit from the bottom. And we got that really pretty paper in the book already. So if this, you know, doesn't cover it completely, I think it's still going to be okay. And the fact that it's not perfect is good, because that's, you know, this whole book here is embracing the imperfect. We're using, you know, book pages and faux stitching. It's meant to look very rustic and like somebody's, you know, hard work scrapbook, you know, like you spend a lot of time putting your effort into it here. Now, do I want to sew around this, or should I just, is it going to be too, is it going to take away from the look? Might take away from the look of it. Okay, let's just glue this in here. I'm just gonna use my Fabrifix since I have it out and ready. And then we gotta figure out, come on, mister. Are you, I think I have my glue bottle shut. Figure out what I want to do on the back side. Okay, plenty of glue. Smush it down. And see how pretty, I think it just looks really nice with the color of this book. The torn edges and the ink just looks really pretty. Definitely. Okay, and then what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and I will glue my fabric down here. Now this fabric is very thin, and it will do, it will bleed through a little bit. So I may have to, like, if I don't like how if it bleeds through too much, I may have to come in here and cover it with lace or something like that. Just a decorative bit. And let's get that folded over. I don't want it to lay down perfect because we do want it to lend itself to being that, you know, very rustic look. So if it flips up a little bit here, I think that's cool. So this is where it's going to bleed through. That's where I put it the most. Okay. I think we're going to call that good. I might come back and put lace, or we might just leave it like that. It's kind of cool just being, you know, a little bit grungy like that. When you fold it up in the book, it might get, you know, rolled a little bit almost, which is kind of cool. I like that. I think that turns out good. That looks pretty. And I got some stitching hanging out. Looks cool. Okay, the back page. Should we do another Edith Holden picture? I have this one pulled out too, I thought. Again, these really deep yellows and stuff. I have some of that in here already. I think we're just going to go with that. Should we put that one in there and call it good? Okay, let's see what we need to try to keep most of my picture in here again. So let's just get as close to the picture as we can. And this side's already kind of torn. Yeah, we still need to come down some. Let's guess about there. Okay. My tearing wasn't straight. Let's take a little bit more off. It's really hard when you're trying to take itty bitty bits off. I'm not good with trying to tear off this tiniest bit. Okay. I think that'll fit. I don't want to take off too much more. I don't want it to overhang, but I also don't want it to go. Let's see here. Take top and bottom. And just a tiny bit off the bottom. Maybe you just have to do it fast. It works better when I do it faster. I always struggle with trying to take just the tiniest bit off with that tearing ruler. It's almost better to hand tear it. Which I did all of the hand tearing for the collaging, so it would match. It's a good thing this is the look we're going for, because I didn't tear it very straight. Okay, so we're going to scooch it over into the book as far as we can go and let some of that hang out there. Okay, let's get this glued in there. I need to do something better with my camera. I don't like my setup. Every time my desk moves, my camera's attached to my desk, and it is wobbly. And so then every time I accidentally bump my desk, the whole camera shakes. So I apologize for that. I'm trying to think of something different. I want to attach my camera to something that's not my desk. That way if I accidentally, you know, bump my desk, or I'm opening drawers and stuff on my desk, that it doesn't continue to shake my desk all around. It's frustrating. I haven't come up with a very good idea yet. Nothing seems like that, you know, aha moment of pure genius. So okay, let's get this down. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. I will probably come back and reevaluate how that's looking when it's all dried to, you know, to see how much of that is you know, like here, if it's going to stay like that, we might have to add some decorative lace or something in there, just because I don't want the glue to show through too much. So, but that looks really pretty. I like that. I like the end papers. Wasn't sure I was going to put anything in there, but I do believe it lends itself to that journal. Okay, so there we go. We have our entire washed and worn journal put together. Now we just need to start actually decorating. And by decorating, I mean I'm going to start adding pockets and tucks and flips and different things like that. And we'll get this baby stuffed. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I hope you go get your paws dirty and get crafty. I will see you later. Bye.